Pride, family, what?
Welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with Clay-Chalkville. This April episode highlights some prom information and some sustainable fashion tips. Let's hop into the first video where Sam and Elizabeth gave us a preview of tonight's event, Prom 2022.
Hey Clay-Chalkville, it's Elizabeth Whitley here with CCN TV. Over the past few weeks, a few of our students went out to Regents Field where prom is going to be held to show you where to park, the entrance, what floor prom will be held on, and where all the finger foods and dancing will happen. When you first park, there will be a parking lot behind Regions, or you can park in Railroad Park. If you park in the parking lot behind Regions, you may have to walk just a couple blocks to get to the entrance. At the entrance, there will be many administrators and teachers to guide you to where you need to get your wristband and what floor the dance will be on. Remember, when you get your wristband, keep it on the entire night and make sure you bring all of the belongings you think you will need into prom, because once you exit, you cannot re-enter. As soon as you get your wristband, you will be told to go to the elevator and go up to the second floor. Once you make it to the second floor and the elevator doors open, you will be greeted by many other teachers, and when you walk out, that's where the ballroom will be. As soon as you enter, you will probably see a table with teachers and a photo booth put on by broadcast. On the dance floor, there will also be bathrooms just in case if you do need to take a little potty break. And there will be many seats so you can sit down just so you can catch your breath from dancing.
Thanks, Sam and Elizabeth. Now on to our next video where Tiffany interviews a working teen about their passion for fashion and how they keep their styles sustainable.
My name is Autumn Bryant. Today I made some crochet bell bottom. To me, sustainable fashion is taking things that you don't necessarily use and make it into something cute. So I crochet, thought about making them into like granny squares instead of like a one piece. So it's like a whole bunch of different squares and sewn together so that they make, bell bottom. I wanted something that was gonna kind of like stand out, something different. You don't wear it, try to give it to somebody else instead of throwing it away.
If you don't like thrift stores, here is a local upcycle store called China Bee Studio. Check out some of her cool pieces.
So I feel like if you don't wear it, try and find somebody who you would think like that and give it to them or give it to a thrift fashion. Try sustainable fashion.
Next, we have Cameron and I, who interviewed Miss Carter and a prom committee member to give us a better understanding of how prom will work and how they made Prom 22 special for us.
What's up, Clay-Chalkville? This is Cameron McGinnis.
And Simone Smith.
Everyone knows our CCHS prom is right around the corner. And we know some of our juniors and seniors are very excited and curious about what to expect for this special day.
We were able to interview Miss Carter, who is the coordinator of this event, and prom committee member India Harris on what's to be expected. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Kinsley Carter. I'm an English teacher here, and I'm also the prom sponsor. There's a lot of progress that has already been done regarding prom this year. Honestly, planning prom begins in August with selecting a committee. Then we have to make sure that we can look for a venue. We can place bids on things like that. We also have a lot of vendors that are already arranged and planned for back in the fall. So everything started in the fall, and then once ticket sales went on sale in February, I can start planning specifics with logistics. So there's a lot of things that have already taken place. And this week, as we wrapped up the final date changes, there's a lot of things that will be completed this week before we load into prom next week. There's a lot of things that just can't be done until the day of, things like decor and all the load-in and all that happens day of. But up until prom, there's a lot of things that are already organized and planned to make prom just be successful. If you're attending prom, there's a lot of information that you will want to be aware of. You can always check out the Prom Schoology page. There will be updates sent out next week. But just a few things that you might want to be aware of. One, everyone will enter prom from the executive entrance. This is the entrance facing Railroad Park. As for dress code, it is a formal event. The specifics of dress code are posted on the Schoology page, but we just ask that everyone be appropriate. We understand that dresses aren't going to follow school dress code exactly, because things like spaghetti straps and strapless are fine, but everything should be covered and school appropriate and formal. That goes for guys and girls. Sit an event that would be appropriate for you to come in with shorts and a t-shirt. I'm just most excited to see the students having fun. I know the past few years have been quite challenging for many students, and I think this is just a great opportunity for students to have fun, be carefree, and just create some really fun, lasting memories.
Hey y'all, my name is India Harris. I'm a senior and I'm a part of the prom committee. Everything is well, everything is about completely done because prom is in like 2 more weeks left. Dress code, all you have to do is just be covered up where your privates are. Other than that, then you're good. I'm most excited for prom king and queen, and I'm also excited for the dances, you know, building memories, taking pictures, looking pretty, you know, because it's all a high school memory.
We hope everyone enjoyed their time at prom, and please thank Miss Carter and the prom committee for their time, hard work, and dedication for making this event happen for us. See you later, Clay-Chalkville. The last video we have for this episode is a much more serious one. This is called The Prom Promise. Check it out.
The clock has started. This is what happened during the collision. In the first 1/10 of a second, the front bumper of the car and grillwork collapsed. In the second 1/10 of a second, the hood rose, crumpled, and smashed into the windshield. The rear wheels have left the ground. The passengers continue to move forward at the vehicle's original speed. At 20 times the normal force of gravity, their bodies would weigh about 3,200 pounds. If their legs were straight, they would snap at the knee joints. In 3/10 of a second, the driver's body is now off of the seat, torso upright with knees pressing in against the dashboard. The plastic and steel frame of the steering wheel began to bend under the grip. His head is near the sun visor, his chest above the steering column. In 4/10 of a second, the car's front end has been demolished, but the rear end of the car is still continuing at 35 miles per hour of travel. The driver's body continues to travel 35 miles per hour as the engine crunches. In 5/10 of a second, the driver's fear-frozen hands have bent the steering wheel column into a near vertical position. The force of inertia pushes the driver into the steering column. In 6/10 of a second, the driver's feet are ripped from his shoes. The brake pedal is sheared off at the floorboard. The car's body bends in the middle. The rear of the car has begun to fall, causing the rear wheels to slam on the pavement. In 7/10 of a second, the body of the car is twisted out of shape. The doors jammed shut, trapping the victims in the car. All of this happens in a second. Once the dispatcher receives a 911 call, the police and fire department will then respond. Keep in mind that in a real situation, it could take 10 to 15 minutes for the first responding unit to arrive depending on traffic, availability, and location. That is a very long time if you're one of the victims. It can take only approximately 8 minutes for someone to bleed out and die from a hemorrhage, which unfortunately could and does happen often before emergency care could arrive. The driver of the first car, the party student's vehicle, is Cameron, an 18-year-old student. He has only had a small amount of alcohol and shared some weed with friends at the party. At impact, the body was thrown forward, causing the face to impact the windshield. This caused multiple facial lacerations. Otherwise, he is not severely injured. He is able to get out of the car, is in minimal pain, and appears distraught at the scene, looking around for help. Cheyenne is a 17-year-old female who was riding in the back of the car and was not wearing a seatbelt. At impact, Cheyenne was thrown onto the roof of the car at the center, causing massive head injuries and brain trauma that resulted in bleeding. The whipping motions of being thrown around the vehicle snapped her neck. She also impacted the front seat, causing large tears in both her lungs and her liver. From these injuries, Cheyenne loses massive amounts of blood in a short amount of time. Cheyenne is passed out and unresponsive immediately following the crash. Also in the backseat is 18-year-old Amani. Amani was not wearing her seatbelt and was also thrown around the vehicle. Several of her ribs have fractured, puncturing a lung and resulting in a lung collapse. She is having difficulty with breathing. She has hit her head and is in and out of consciousness. When conscious, she is in excruciating pain. Amani has a small laceration of her spleen that's causing internal bleeding. The front seat passenger is Stephanie, a 17-year-old female. She was not wearing a seatbelt and was thrown into the windshield, causing her body to be ejected out of the vehicle. The force of which her body was thrown from the car caused her to have multiple injuries of her vital organs. She has suffered a large laceration of her liver, bilateral collapsed lung, and unfortunately has experienced a severe traumatic brain injury. She is unconscious, unresponsive, and unmoving. At this time, Cheyenne has just died from her injuries. There is nothing that can be done for her. In the second vehicle, the driver, Zion, an 18-year-old who was wearing his seatbelt, unfortunately still has sustained intense injuries. Due to the impact from his front steering column and force of his head-on collision, his aorta has torn, resulting in a massive hemorrhage bleeding within a few minutes of the car crash. There is nothing that can be done to save this young, innocent person. Ayana is an 18-year-old passenger who is unfortunately watching her friend pass away in front of her eyes. It is a feeling of complete helplessness and shock. She has several injuries, including a broken clavicle. She has some mild lacerations, severe bruising, and a hematoma from the airbag. She is in severe pain from her injuries and is trapped in the car. Zion, the 18-year-old driver of vehicle number 2, has now unfortunately passed away from the severity of the injuries. Within a few minutes, Stephanie, who was ejected from the vehicle, has succumbed to her injuries and is no longer alive. As the emergency units arrive, the initial concern is to evaluate the conditions of the victims and prioritize their care. Since Zion, Stephanie, and Cheyenne are all dead, there is no immediate removal of their bodies from the wreck. All efforts will be directed to save the living. The police officer's primary role is to protect the scene of the accident. He must consider the safety of the victims, the rescue workers, and will preserve and gather evidence to be used in court if necessary. He must try to evaluate the cause of the accident and who is likely responsible. He will also determine what charges, if any, will be filed against the involved driver or drivers. Due to the fatalities, the coroner will be called to evaluate the scene and confirm the deaths. Word has spread quickly in the community. Arriving on scene are some family members and friends of each group of victims. They observe the wreckage and are horribly distraught, realizing that there is loss of life and severe injury. There is nothing that they can do other than cry and pray. Family of Zion and Anaya, Gary Smith and Kayla Gadsden. Friends who may have also been at the party and arrived behind the wreck, Autumn Bryant and Rayana May. Amani is trapped in the wrecked car. In order to get her out, the rescue team will have to use the jaws of life to be able to safely extricate her from the vehicle. Once she is out, she will be transported ASAP to the emergency department. Remember that throughout this entire process, she is continuing to lose blood from her spleen, will require an emergency chest tube to treat her collapsed lung, and is in severe pain. She is only getting 70% of the oxygen her body needs and must rapidly be transported for surgery and trauma care. In addition, her brain will need to be monitored for swelling. Ayana will be extricated from the smashed vehicle by the fire department. Her injuries will be evaluated. She will be transported as soon as possible to the emergency department for trauma. Cameron is suspected of driving while under the influence. After his injuries have been evaluated, the driver is questioned by police. He will have to complete a field sobriety test. Please keep in mind that even though the legal limit for alcohol in Alabama is .08, the legal limit for an underage person is much lower, at .02. In addition, use of any substances that could impact your reaction time or decision-making while driving are illegal. Texting while driving or distract driving is also illegal, and all of these can have long-term consequences, including felonies, prison time, and getting sued for money. The driver, Cameron, fails the sobriety test, is given his rights for arrest, and is placed in the back of a police car. Cameron was found guilty of negligent homicide 3 times and aggravated drunk driving resulting in death. He received 3 5-year sentences and will serve 15 years in prison for some bad decisions that resulted in the loss of 3 lives. Due to the extensive injuries of the other victims, there are major medical bills and long-term expenses for those injured. Cameron and his family will lose all that they own, including their vehicles and the family home, trying to pay reinstitution. In addition, Cameron will have to live with the guilt of the accident for the rest of his life. What you have seen today is a course of dramatization, but this is unfortunately a grim reality for many young people in our community. We at CCHS ask today that you make yourself, your peers, your family a promise that you will make good choices while driving, that you will promise not to drink and drive, that you will not operate a vehicle if you've used a controlled substance, that you will put your cell phone away and not be a distracted driver, that you will buckle your seatbelt, be safe, make good choices. Your life and the lives of others depend on it.
If you are heading out to prom tonight, we hope you have a great time. Remember to stay safe and do not drive under the influence. Tune in next month for the last episode of Keeping Up with Clay-Chalkville of this season, where we will highlight the class of 22. This has been Simone Smith, and thank you guys so much for letting me anchor Keeping Up with Clay-Chalkville. See you later.